This is on Tim Pool. Hopefully,
For me to
Tim's
be a
cool.
man, let's get into it.
Yeah, so the first thing to understand, I think, about what it means to be a man is, you've heard of the manosphere, Andrew Tate, guys like that.
Is he manosphere?
I love this. You've heard of the manosphere? Andrew Tate? Can you name anyone else there, Will Spencer? No? Who else? Who else could you possibly name? Who else is like that? I asked you guys for names. Who else are you possibly
I mean,
name?
like,
Yeah, formerly manosphere. Manosphere
Right.
cracked and sank to the bottom of the ocean.
yeah. It was like 10 years ago. They called it like the red pill subreddits and stuff.
Yes.
10 years ago. No, Tim. Much longer than that.
Now red pill means something different.
Yes, yes. So the manosphere, it grew popular because it said that what men do. Men build strength, men build wealth, and men acquire women, let's say.
No, that's not what it was about. But that's what Andrew Tate would like you to have thought it was about.
Sleep. The red pill was primarily about like the game, based on the game and based on sleeping with lots of girls. Let's put it that way. So that's what men do. But where it gets things wrong about men is that's not what men are for. Men are for protecting women. Men are
fighting bears.
Men are also for that, yeah,
Yes.
and sharks. Yeah, exactly. So men are for protecting women. Men are for having children. Men are for building strength and wealth and a legacy. So the manosphere says what men do, but it doesn't say what men are for.
See, so what happens here is now we're looking at applying principles. We're looking for applying meaning. We're purpose, right? And whenever you have somebody saying, this is what men are for, it's almost always in service of women, right? So it's almost like, well, they're for having kids and for protecting women and for this, and this is what you were born to do, Buster. And you better shape up. And I mean, how many times, like you don't even, like by this logic, Jordan Peterson's red pill. Jordan Peterson's part of the manosphere, right? Because he's saying the same shit. Right? This is what you're for. This is your purpose. And from an evolutionary perspective, when it comes to protection, provisioning, and parental investment, that's the beta buck side of hypergamy. So you're for fulfilling the beta buck side of hypergamy. And hey, if it also suits your purposes too, then great, right? No. You can't think of yourself first. Remember what Charlie Kirk said? No video games for you until your wife is a woman of leisure. And she needs for nothing in her life. And then you can go play Space Marine 2 for half an hour. Yeah?
Have a purpose. Men have a God-given design.
Indeed. Well, so what?
So this is what happens here is when we start talking about stuff like this, when we start talking about like what the purpose is, we're talking about best practices. And this is kind of where I wanted to go with it. I want to stop it right here just for a second. This is actually a pretty short clip. So when I'm talking about the red pill as a praxiology, right? It's what is the phenomenon? What are the dynamics that are happening? What's the behavior? What's the purpose of that behavior? How did it evolve? Why is it still here? Is it something that was still useful to us? Is it not something that's useful to us anymore? And what's the purpose, right? What's the purpose of it? Like the thing is, like, when you're talking to religious people, it's always going to be about whatever their particular ideology is about. Right? Now, I'm of the opinion that there are certain characteristics and there are certain aspects of being a man that are conventional commonalities to men. Right? Masculinity is a set of conventional behaviors that are unique to men, or are, let's say, predominantly, about being a man, right? So, but that doesn't imply function. That doesn't imply purpose. That doesn't imply intent. This is what a guy does. Men hunt. Men kill food and bring it back to the tribe, right? Is that their purpose, or are they doing that because it's a necessity? Right? What about protecting the women folk? Well, if you look at men's like biological imperatives, our purpose is to spread the seed, my friend. Our purpose is unlimited access to unlimited sexuality. Because if you think about it, like especially in our ancestral past, that's way more pragmatic than monogamy, way more pragmatic than but if we can convince enough guys that their purpose and their duty and their, the magic man in the sky is going to get really pissed off at them if they don't stick around and help wifey out. We don't do that. Then how do you have social cohesion? How do you raise a very delicate child that is utterly helpless, and the woman who's been nurturing it is utterly helpless? Well, you've got to engender, or in nature some way, into that man the need to protect. And I've said this a million times. Again, another thing that's in the fourth book, it's big head babies, right? Human beings rely on our intelligence. How do we get that intelligence out into the world? Well, we have to have women with very wide hips to birth a child that has a very big head, because we need a lot of brain synapses. We need a lot of brain material. And then those babies are effectively helpless till they're not even self-sufficient until they're like 7, maybe. And so you've got a woman, for our ancestral past anyways, who's more or less an incubator of the next generation. So she's either nurturing a child, or she has one child in hand and nurturing another child, and she's still pregnant, right? And that's, we're talking about way back in the day, when we were in hunter-gatherer societies. So we're still those critters. It's just that we find ways to formalize that and to mythologize why we ought to be married, why we ought to have one man, one woman, why where there's a commandment for Christ that says only one man, one woman. Well, it's much more pragmatic, at least for men's breeding and for men's biological imperatives, to ejaculate and evacuate, man. Like to inseminate as many women as possible. That's a better deal, especially for a guy who's, I've said this, I pointed this out. I one of the reasons why I know I get ripped off is sometimes I'm quoting somebody and then people will rip me off and say they're quoting me. So I was reading this book. It's really great. It's called Alpha God by Dr. Hector Garcia. He's a evolutionary psychologist, very much a male feminist. So don't hold that against him. He's a consummate statistician. And he's really a really good author anyways. But in Alpha God, one of the things he brought up is that the thing that has defined most primates as well as human males is the powerful males have 3 aspects in common. Okay. So they have territory, they have resources, access to resources, and then they have access to multiple females, hopefully virgins, right? That's why you have like the eunuchs guarding the harem of the caliph or the forbidden city in China, dynastic China, as well as keeping women in a closed off area in tribes in the Amazon rainforest, right? The powerful chieftain, the powerful men have access to more pussy because we want them to breed and create more powerful men. That's the biological function of it anyways. So you want to know why we had polygynous societies for so long, is because it was based on the fact that powerful men had what? They had resources, territory, and an ability to defend it, and access to young, hopefully fertile, virginic, women. That's why they were guarded by eunuchs, right? They don't want anybody fucking their women, right? It's because we want to know that the babies that come out of these bitches right here are the caliphs or the kings or the emperors. We want to know, the chief, whatever. We want to know that those are going to be his progeny because his DNA is powerful because he has all this shit, right? And that's also, by the way, what defines primates like silverback gorillas and chimpanzees. Like if they have access, they will defend territory. You want to know, people say, oh, do chimps go to war? Hell yes, they go to war. And so when you look at the similarities there, you say, okay, well, what makes a guy a high value man? Resources, territory. How many houses does he have? Right? What's his territory? And does he fuck? Those are the things, because it's more pragmatic. If we have a society that is based, or that is for men by men, it's going to be unlimited access to unlimited sexuality for the guys who are the elites, and everybody beneath the elites gets one chick, right? Because they want that guy to you've still got to get laid, right? But they don't want you to have as many at the access that these guys would have. Now sometimes we call this like soft polygyny now, because like what will happen is you'll marry one chick, you have like Elon Musk, perfect fucking example, right? Look how many kids Elon Musk has. Look how many women that dude has had. Definitely has resources, definitely has the territory, and now has the chicks, right? Now, were they virginic? I don't know. Probably not. Certainly not Ashley St. Clair. But repopulating the earth, he's doing it. What, 14 kids now?
Yeah.
14 children. He should be like the pinnacle of like tradcon Christian men. He's repopulating the earth. He's single-handedly doing his job to end the fertility crisis. But that's the pragmatic way of doing it. But when we think about things in terms of like, what's a man's purpose? Well, if you're in a monogamous society and you're a guy that doesn't fuck, it behooves you to tell everybody else, one man, one woman. It behooves you to say, our purpose is to protect women and to fulfill their biological destiny. Because really what you're doing is by declaring that, you're saying, I'm on board with the female experience and not the male experience. Now, do we need men to be fathers? Yes, of course we do. Do we need women to be mothers? Yes. Do we need them to be involved parents? Yes. Do we need them to protect them? Yes. Got it. I'm not saying any of that, but I'm pointing out the dynamics here because these guys are presuming something without ever questioning it whatsoever. Guys who don't fuck talk like this, right? They don't understand that it's far more pragmatic for a guy to spread the seed because if he's his imperative, then that's where we go with it. If a woman is the operative experience in this culture, then your purpose as a man is to serve woman. That's all it comes down to. Now, you'll notice that none of these guys say, oh, what, it's a woman's purpose to suck her man's, like she lost her keys in it.